Good morning, dear students. In my third video, I will be covering the entire theme, title, justification, characterization of the blue bead. And we will also be finishing the last bit that was left. And I would like to just give a slight recap before we start. We had finished the part where Sibia had been described. The crocodile had also been described in a very detailed manner. And of course, we were told about how she went and all the different adventures that Sibia encountered while she had gone with her mother and the other women to pluck paper grass. And what happened was that while the women had all gone ahead, Sibia was left, and she noticed this Gujar woman who was being attacked by a crocodile. And now we will go further. The Gujar woman recoiled from the crocodile. Now the Gujar woman, of course, her pots we know had bobbed away with the current, and now she recoiled, means that she moved back or sprang back in fear from the crocodile. But his jaws closed on her leg at the same moment as she slipped and fell on the bone-breaking stone. Now, while the crocodile had, taken her leg in his jaws and he had sunk his jaws in her leg, she also slipped very badly on these bone-breaking stones and clutched one of the timber logs to save herself. So she had this log of wood which she was able to hold on to for dear life. The log jammed between two boulders, with the woman clinging to it and screaming. Now this log got stuck between two huge boulders, and this woman was hanging on to this and trying to scream for help, while the crocodile pulled on her leg. The crocodile continued to hold on to her leg with his jaws, threshing his mighty tail. Now he was moving his tail very violently, bang, bang, to and fro, in great smacking flails. Flails means he was striking very very as he tried to drag her free and carry her off to take her down in the deeper part of the pool where he could have devoured her. Blood spread everywhere. There were pools of blood all over the river. Sibia sprang. Now Sibia realized that it was time that she should act. She should try to rescue this poor woman. From boulder to boulder she came leaping like a rock goat. Sometimes it had seemed difficult to cross these stones, especially the big gap in the middle where the river coursed through like a bulge of glass. Now the river was actually smoothly moving like a bulge of glass. It was compared to glass. The area where there were no stones, of course it was difficult for people to cross the river there, but the river was compared to glass over there because it was transparent like glass and there were no stones visible in that particular area. But now she came on wings, just like a bird. She came smoothly gliding on wings, choosing her footing in mid-air without even thinking about it. So she was just moving like a bird. She was not bothering whether her foot was stepping on a stone or not, but she was trying to move as fast as she could to rescue the woman. And in one moment she was beside the shrieking woman. In the boiling bloody water, the face of the crocodile fastened round her leg. Now that woman was, of course, still in the clutches of the crocodile, and the crocodile had her leg tied up very, very tightly in his jaws and was tugging to and fro, smiling. The crocodile was smiling. He had that glint in his eye and a smile. His eyes rolled on to Sibia. Now he noticed Sibia. One slap of the tail could kill her. Of course, if the crocodile wanted, he could have let go of the Gujjar woman and even he could have attacked Sibia. So this was a very, very dangerous situation that Sibia had put herself in. He struck. Of course, he struck at the woman and not at Sibia. He was still striking at the woman. Up shot the water, 20 feet, and fell like a chain. So the water splashed high in the air, about 20 feet, and it looked almost like a silver chain. Again, the rock jumped under the blow. But in the daily heroism of the jungle, as common as a thorn tree, Sibia did not hesitate. So Sibia, she was quite brave and displayed a lot of heroism, and she acted very, very quickly. She aimed at the reptile's eyes. With all the force of her little body, she drove the hay fork at the eyes. So she tried to pierce the eyes of the crocodile with the hay fork. And one prong went in, right in, while its pair scratched past on the horny cheek. Now the hay fork has prongs, as I told you. One of the prongs had gone right into one of his eyes, while the other prong had scratched the horny cheek of the crocodile. The crocodile reared up in convulsion. So it rose up in a very sudden, irregular movement till half his lizard body was out of the river. The tail and nose nearly meeting over his stony back. So his tail and his nose, his body curled so that his tail and nose met over his back. Then he crashed back because now he could feel the pain. So he crashed back, exploding the water. And there was like an explosion in the water, and in an uproar of bloody foam, he disappeared. And there was a lot of froth in the water because there was a lot of blood splurting all around, and that left like a foam, a bloody foam in the river. He would die. Of course, that was certain, that he had been injured so severely that his death was imminent. Not yet, but presently. Though his death would not be known for days, not till his stomach, blown with gas, floated him. And it would only be discovered, his death would only be discovered at the time when his stomach would bloat with gas, would fill up with gas, and his body would float above the water. And that would take days. Then perhaps he would be found upside down among the logs at the timber room with pus in his eye. And when he would be found, then they would have noticed that there would be pus in his eye. Sibia got her arms around the fainting woman and somehow dragged her from the water. Now she tried to drag the woman out of the water because that woman was injured, she was bleeding profusely, and she needed medical aid. She stopped her wounds with sand. So she put some sand on her injuries and bound them with a rag. She tied a rag around her injury, her leg, and helped her home to the Gujjar encampment, where the men made a litter to carry her to someone for treatment. So there she took her to her home, which was the group of tents, where the men had all crowded around in a litter to carry her for some medical treatment. Then Sibia went back for her grass and sickle and fork. The fork was lying in the river, not carried away luckily. Now she was lucky that the hay fork was still there and it had not been carried away in the strong current of the river. And as she bent to pick it up out of the water, she saw the blue bead. Not blue now, with the sun nearly gone, but a no-color white blue, and its shape wobbling in the movement of the stream. Now this blue bead did not appear blue anymore, but it seemed like a whitish blue, and it was moving in a very awkward manner in the stream. She reached her arm down into a yard of the cold silk water to get it. Now she tried to stretch her arm into the cold water, which was like silk. It was compared to silk, and she tried to reach the water, missing the bead. Of course, initially she missed it, first of all, because of refraction. Now, because of the refraction, she could not exactly make out the exact location of the bead, because it is a kind of an optical illusion. When there is refraction, you cannot know exactly the location of an object which is underwater. Then there it lay in her wet palm, perfect, even pierced, ready for use. So it seemed like she had been rewarded with that blue bead, and it was even pierced. She did not even need to pierce that blue bead. So it was pierced and ready for use, with the sunset shuffled about inside it like gold dust. And inside that blue bead, you could see gold dust, which was nothing but sunlight. All her heart went up in flames of joy. She was very, very excited about it. She felt a sense of achievement. To find the blue bead, that was something that she had been yearning for since a very, very long time. After a bit, she twisted it into the top of her skirt against her tummy, so she would know if it burst through the poor cloth and fell. So she twisted it and placed it at the top of her skirt just near her stomach, so she would know if it burst through the cloth. Then she picked up her fork and sickle and the heavy grass and set off home. "Aye, what a day!" she exclaimed. Her bare feet smudged out the wriggle mark of snakes in the dust. Now there were her feet that had smeared, and there were probably snake marks on the dust, and her feet she had placed her footprints over those snake marks. There was the thin singing of malaria mosquitoes among the trees now, and now that it was twilight, the mosquitoes had started swarming around and buzzing among the trees. And this track was much used at night by a morose old Makna elephant, the tuskless one. Now this track was often used by a sad, morose means a very sad, dull looking old Makna elephant, and this was a tuskless male one. It did not have tusks. But Sibia was not thinking of any of them. The stars came out, she noticed. She noticed that the stars were out now. It was almost night. On the way back, she met her mother, out of breath, come to look for her and scolding. Of course, her mother was very, very worried about her daughter. She was anxious. And when she saw her daughter, She was almost out of breath looking for her, and she was very, very angry. So she scolded and reprimanded her daughter and said, "I did not see till I was home that you were not there." She had not discovered, because she was with the other women, they were busy chattering and gossiping, that she did not realize that Sibia was not with them. "I thought something must have happened to you." And Sibia, bursting with her story, cried, "Something did. I found a blue bead for my necklace. Look." And all she told her mother was, of course, she did not discuss anything about the crocodile or her rescue of the Gujjar woman. All she showed her mother was that small piece of glass, the whitish blue glass or the blue bead, which she had found in the river. And she was so happy and excited that she showed her mother that blue bead. Now the theme of the story, the blue bead, is that people often don't realize that risk-taking can lead to unforeseen achievements. This story is about a young girl named Sibia who one day goes to the fields with her mother to work. After working, she gets left behind because she was daydreaming or she was lost in her own thoughts. In order to get home, Sibia has to cross a river. While she's doing that, she sees a woman getting attacked by a crocodile. Sibia rushes to help the woman, and she stabs the crocodile in the eye with a pitchfork or a hay fork. Sibia takes the injured woman back into the village, where a group of people take her to get treated. When she returns to the river to get her hay fork, she finds a blue bead. In the end, Sibia doesn't tell her mother about helping the lady because she is more excited about finding the blue bead for her necklace. The title justification. The title is appropriate because the story ends with Sibia finding the blue bead. After the life-changing events, when she saves a Gujjar woman's life, she also manages to find the blue bead to make a necklace. She realizes that it's the little things that matter. The character sketch. Now we will do the character sketch of Sibia. Sibia is the protagonist in this short story. Sibia is a simple and down-to-earth girl, and she's very down-to-earth in her approach to life. She is extremely observant and is quick to notice the blue bead. She has lived a life of poverty, and from the moment Sibia was born, she was destined for work. She always dreams about jewelry and is happy to find the blue bead with which she can make a necklace. She appreciates the little things in life. She is a helpful girl and ready to help others, even at the cost of endangering her own life. She is fearless and lunges at the crocodile, not thinking for a moment of saving herself and running. In fact, she is compassionate and thinks of others before self. She is not self-centered and does not even mention her brave feat to her mother. Symbolism. Symbolism is extensively used to convey the point to be made. The blue bead represents Sibia's happiness because she grew up in poverty. The blue bead is used as a symbol. It represents the riches and luxuries that she could never afford and all she fought for in order to achieve it. It is also a symbol and reminder of her bravery and heroism on that day. The blue bead symbolizes even the little things can make them happy. Here, where we take many things for granted and don't realize that little things can also make us happy. The climax. Now the women were traveling to the cliff to collect paper grass. On the way back, Sibia gets left behind because she was daydreaming. Sibia has to cross a river in order to get home, and when she arrives at the river, she sees a woman being attacked by a crocodile. The struggle to save the woman, Sibia's encounter with the crocodile, and her final rescue all contribute to the climax of the story. And now, children, I leave you with the second worksheet, which has to be done in your Literature in English Fair exercise books. Please go through this extract and attempt all the questions. We hope you have a wonderful day. Stay blessed and stay safe.